is the Roman lady? La Romana Evangelista.
All right, I'm ready.
So, let me start?
Yeah.
So, you've asked me to tell you a few stories, and I've got 4 stories to tell you. And stories are absolutely true, and not one word of it is made up.
Okay.
Stories have been passed on to me from people who no longer can tell you the stories. I can't tell you the stories because they're no longer with us. And those of them who are with us don't really remember the stories well. So how do I know the stories? I know the stories because I was 12 years old and I was trying to figure out something about the people around me. What was it about them? Where they came from? And just how I got to be who I am. So, as a nosy little kid, I would sit down with these people on a Sunday morning and munch on a meatball and drink some coffee, figure out what I was going to do when I became 12, and then drink some more coffee.
You drank coffee when you were 8?
The nun had us
Coffee milk?
drinking coffee when we were basically done with the Italian bread sucking on the set of our thumbs. So she'd give us coffee, and we'd have, of course, 3 spoons of sugar and about a half of it of milk, and then we'd drink the coffee. But I got out of that, and I don't use the sugar, and I don't use the milk, but I sure do use the coffee. So let me tell you the first story, and the first story is about a guy named... What's that? Oh,
I have no idea.
that's the... You know what that is?
No.
That is,
It was an alien.
No, it's not an alien. That is Skype.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
The first one is about a guy named Francesco. Francesco is the easiest of the stories because he was not supposed to be much of anything. Francesco was the second son of a guy named Angelo Carnevale. The second son was nowhere near as good as the first son. The second son's job was to support the rest of the family. The guy that was important was the first son. And the first son was a guy named Tommaso. There were only 3 children. There was Tommaso, Thomas, there was Frank, and there was Philomena, the baby sister. And the father did what most people did those days. He ran a farm. This farm was on the side of a mountain where his father had been. His father's name was Tommaso. And where his father was is before that. And his father's name was probably Angelo, because they passed those names on. But Tommaso lived in this town called Pico up in the mountains, about 50 miles away from Monte Cassino. And the time in Italy was tough. It was a war-torn area. It was before the World War I happened, but it was still around that time. And the farm wasn't making money. The farm had trouble. And Angelo needed more land to expand the farm, but he didn't have it. But he heard stories from his friends. And his friends said, you got to know a little bit more about this America business. So what he ended up doing was he ended up saying, well, tell me more about it. Well, his brother Felix had already moved to the United States, and he was writing him back from Raleigh Street saying that, this is the place to go. There's lots of money just waiting on the ground here to be picked up, and we can send it back home. Brother Johnny went there. So his brother Johnny's there and his brother Felix is there. And Angelo's still back at home taking care of the business of the family farm because he was the oldest guy and he's going to take care of this. So he looked at his children, and Tommaso can't go because Tommaso's supposed to help him with the farm and he's going to take over the farm. So he'd send number 2 son over to the United States. The number 2 son was named Frank or Francesco. Frank didn't speak any English, only went to the 3rd grade. The only thing he did for fun was every now and then get together with his friends where they would play a guitar and go sing after little Juliets who were sitting in their balconies.
How old was he when they sent him away?
I would say about 14 or 15. I can show you his picture if you
By
want.
himself?
Yeah. You want to see him?
Yeah.
Put it on pause for a second. He was born in 1902. Came over here just about 14 years old. His passport is stamped.
Let me see his picture.
How's it look?
Doesn't look anything like us.
Doesn't look anything like us?
No.
He's a good looking guy. Look at that, he's got a tie on. And this is 1920, it looks like. So that means he must have been 18 years old when he came over.
Oh, okay.
A little bit older than that because he was born in his date of birth was October 4th, 1902. And it looks like he came over here October 12th, it looks like 1920.
So they just said...
That was after the war. He came over after World War One.
So they just said, go over there and make money and send it back?
No, go see my brother Felix. So
Whose brother Felix? His dad's brother. Was already over here.
No.
What was his dad's brother doing over here?
His dad, he was working. He had making some money.
Wait, where was Felix?
Felix and Johnny lived on Raleigh Street, which is right near here. Now this is Angelo right here. If you look down at this picture here, can you focus in on this?
Yes.
This is the guy who says to his boy, you got it?
Oh, the one with the mustache.
Yep, says to his boy, you got to go to the United States and you pick up the money and you send it home. Right? So he moved in with his so he takes the boat over to this country and he arrives at Ellis Island in 1920.
Okay, now...
He gets off the boat.
Okay, but hold on. Why was Brother Felix... Why was...
Brother Felix
on
was,
Raleigh Street?
He was already here and he had established himself with a family and he had a job here. Why was he in Rhode Island?
Yes.
Because the people from his village in Italy were in Rhode Island.
So other people from the village went here.
Right.
Got it.
So he found a good job. I forgot what he did. But Uncle Henry would know what Felix did. Is Uncle Henry still awake?
9:30.
You think he's awake?
Yes.
Alright, let's ask him. Dad might know. Put it on pause for a second.
Okay.
Dad doesn't know. Uncle Henry don't know. Uncle Henry got all this stuff down. Are you still awake? This is your son, Robert, the first one. Good. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Bobby wants to know, your Uncle Felix and your Uncle Johnny, right? They were here before your father got here, weren't they? Your Uncle Felix and your Uncle Johnny, they both were here when your father got here, right? So why did Felix and Johnny end up in Providence? What did Johnny do? John, yes. It was before the beginning of the. It was way before. It was during World War One, Dad. They were here. They were here during World War One. That was way before the Depression. Then Grandpa came here. Papa came here in 1920. Yes. Yep. So you don't remember what Felix and Johnny did? Oh. Yeah. Yeah. So you don't know why they came, how they came here. All right. Yeah. So if we don't know why they came to. Bobby want to know why they came to Providence, Rhode Island. Why they came to Providence, Rhode Island. I'm not sure on that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's the beautiful girls, right? He had the beautiful girls. Yeah, the beautiful girls. That's an interesting story. Yeah. But both Johnny and Felix were on Rowley Street, right? Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. I'll call you back if we have any more. Your father asked me the same question 40 years ago, because we're curious. Okay? Your father asked me the exact same question. Bobby, why are you asking me all these questions? Okay. I'll talk to you later, Dad. Bye-bye. Okay. Dad doesn't know why Felix is here either. Because Felix had the beautiful girls. Anyhow. So Felix lived there. He was doing okay. Johnny lived there. Both on Raleigh Street. They're doing okay. So, and Felix had a lot of girls. He had about 6 girls. Which becomes part of an interesting story. Because the 2 of the girls are the beautiful girls. So what happens is, Papa gets to New York, and somehow he gets himself on the manifest that comes in, and they ask him what his name is, and he said, "My name is Francesco Saverio Carnevale." And the guy said, "Oh, okay, I'll write down your name, Francesco Saverio." So when you go to Ellis Island, you don't find Francesco Saverio Carnevale, you have from Francesco Saverio. Because Papa's last name, I don't know if it made it or not, but for some reason it was off the ship. That's why we couldn't find him for the longest time.
Huh.
So anyhow, he finally got through the screening at Ellis Island, and I guess he took a train to get to Providence, where his Uncle Felix was waiting for him. Uncle Felix was great, and he gave him a place to stay, which is the closet underneath the stairs going to the 2nd floor, like Harry Potter in one of the Harry Potter movies, and that's where he stayed. And he got him the job as a laborer. Either was in a mill or doing some sort of laboring work, but he'd do physical work. And it wasn't hard to find a job, because there's always somebody looking for someone to do heavy-duty labor and pay them next to peanuts. He gave part of it to Felix, because Felix let him sleep in the closet, and he gave part of it to...
But what was his business? What was their main business?
They didn't have much of it. My father doesn't know what Felix's business are. They just did what Papa's business was as a laborer. For Francesco.
What does that mean?
That means he'd go out there and he'd put coal in the back of his back, and he'd walk to houses, because he used to put coal in the stoves there.
Yeah, they used to make piles in their basement of coal. They used to have coal
piles. Or he'd bring ice up the top of the steps.
With the ice picks, yeah.
Yeah, but he'd have to do something that would require labor, and he would do that. And he kept on working there, but he settled in there with his cousins. The cousins were beautiful. They were a lot of pretty girls. And
he was only, what,
and
20?
he was about 18 years old, a teenager, in America, getting settled in there.
Sleeping under stairs.
Sleeping under stairs. So we're going to leave him for now.
Okay.
Sleeping under the stairs, doing the labors. Every time he got paid at work, he'd send some of the money to his Uncle Felix. Some of his money went back to his father, Angelo, in Italy, who would pay money for the farm. And Papa continued to do that his whole life. He stopped paying Felix when he moved out of Felix's house, but he kept on paying his father. One check every week went to Italy to help pay for the farm, and Papa never went back. Okay, he tried to become an American citizen in about 1925, and he was rejected as an American citizen.
You know
And
why?
yes, because he couldn't read and write in English.
That'll do it.
You know, so we're going to leave him there working underneath the steps. Let's go on to the next story, which would be Antonetta.
Grandma's.
Antonetta is no. We're going to go with those next. Antonetta was my father's mother. Now Antonetta came from a different family. They didn't come from Pico. They came from a town called Sanda Pollinari, and Sanda Pollinari was a village that was not too far away from it, except their situation was much worse. They didn't have anything in Italy. They had lost most of everything. The farm was where they lived. They grew up on the farm. They had a whole bunch of kids. The nun had lots of brothers and sisters. Unlike Papa, who only had 2 brothers and sisters. Oh, my grandmother had Etta had a whole bunch of brothers and sisters. And her mother and father decided that they heard things were good here, but they were going to make the farm work out. Well, what happened was Angelina, their daughter, said to them, "Mom, Dad, this is not where it is. There's nothing happening at all in Santa Pollinari. I want to go to the United States. My girlfriend lives in this town called Providence. She's got a great job. She's working in the factory. The men are handsome. There's a lot of Italian people there. I'm going." And they said, "You can't go. You're an old girl. You got to stay home. You're our oldest daughter. You got to stay home." She said, "No, I'm going to the United States with my friend." I don't know who the friend was. Uncle Ray may know. I got to ask him. Can't ask him tonight. So anyhow, so Angelina gets in the boat, goes to the United States. Well, she doesn't just send the money back to Italy. She sends letters saying how wonderful it is, how you got to come here, yada yada. So finally,
she's in Providence.
She's in Providence. So
The
finally,
nun's sister.
her mother and father.
The nun's sister.
This is the nun's sister, right? And her mother and father are Eleanor DeLibero and Generosa Rossi. And Generosa says,
Rossi?
"Okay." Generosa Rossi. Her name was Rossi. Her mother's name was DeLibero. Okay. So Generoso says, "Okay, you've convinced me. Let's go over to the United States." So he packs up his kids. He had the following kids. He had Tony. He had Etta. He had Mariucci. He had Pascal, Pat. He had Marigrazia, who is still alive and is up the street here at the nursing home. And the kids decided, "It's going to bring my kids and my wife Eleanor, and we're going to go to the United States." So they go to the port in Naples, and they said, "Sorry, you guys can't go." "What do you mean we can't go?" "We can't go. You got too many people. Only half of you can go, and half of you have to stay." He said, "What do you mean? I gave up my farm. My farm's not here anymore." So "That's all right. We'll find a place for you to live in Naples, but you can't go because you only allow half of you to live." So what did he do? He sent Mariucci. He sent his wife. He sent Tony, and he had Pat, Etta, and Marigrazia stayed in Italy with their father, and the mother went over to the United States, and that happened. It was a year they were there. So when his mother Eleanor came here, she saw her daughter Angelina. They got a job for Mariucci, and
Eleanor's still here.
Tony, what?
Eleanor's still here, right?
Eleanor who? No, she's died. She's died a long time ago.
Who's the one that's in the nursing home?
That's Marigrazia, Mary Grace.
Oh, Mary Grace. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Mary Grace is still here. You can go see her tomorrow if you want to go say hi.
That's who I meant. That's who I meant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So anyhow, she's the only one left. That whole generation, the only one left is Mary Grace. And she's pretty sharp. She remembers some of these stories. So